first, seconds, performing, non-performing? What the f***? Note buyers, when it seems like you're in this business alone, know Chase, Robert, and the rest of their tribe are at it every week. They're bringing updates from their own note businesses as they work to find, fund, and finish deals. Follow along as they share their grassroots education with you, tuition-free. If you'd like to know more about what they do and to download the entire back catalog, check out NoteMBA.com. Now, here are your hosts, Chase Thompson and Robert Woods.
Happy New Year, buddy.
Happy New Year to you too, sir. This is our first recording in the new year. This is 2015.
2015, episode 6.
I am staggered by how quickly time has passed between starting the show, and now we're here. You made a comment, I think, a couple shows ago about how quickly we would get to episode, 52, because I had made a comment about a guy being at 450 episodes or whatever. And I'm like, holy crap, we're actually going to get there pretty quick. This is crazy.
You thought I was projecting too far out.
I did. I said you were projecting too far out, and I think I'm going to put it here on the record for you and all the listeners. I apologize.
No need to apologize. Glad that within 6 weeks we've got that steam behind us and built that confidence that the machine will see us through for a full year.
Yeah, it's we made a comment the other day about your system is perfectly optimized for the results you're currently getting, and from a general sense, the system is currently pushing us to continue to produce every single week, and it also speaks to a lot of the clients I work with from a marketing standpoint. They question how frequently they can come up with what we'll call content for an email list or for the JV partners or other people they're talking to. And I just want to be like, look, I'm kicking out content every single week in multiple different ways. It's just one of those things that once you get in the groove, once your system starts rolling, it just happens.
Oh yeah, I think it's easy to make the list. Like I think you and I could sit down and be like, okay, Chase, let's list 52 weeks worth of episode topics. Go, and then it's just a matter of when the week shows up. Do you do a topic, whether it's one of the ones we picked or not? And I think a lot of the times to the marketing thing, people make that big list of 10 or 20 things they could do, but they don't do one of the 10 or 20 things they list, and they don't send the email out, or they don't record the podcast as it would pertain to what we're talking about for us.
So I don't know if this is a good time or bad time, but today we're going to be talking about goals. If you're someone that listens to the news or reads blogs or listens to other podcasts or whatever, this is something a lot of people are talking about right now. It's just kind of that time of the year, right? And before we jump in on the goals and to speak to what you were just talking about, I don't know if I've mentioned on the podcast here. I talk about it whenever I give talks and things in person, but one of my favorite things from The One Thing by Gary Keller is a concept that I had never heard of before, which is that exponential effect that dominoes can have on one another. There's a principle name behind it. I just can't think of it off the top of my head, but basically it's the idea that we've all stacked dominoes, as kids or adults. I don't know what you do, but we've all stacked dominoes up, and then you hit one and it knocks over a whole, slew of them in a design or whatever the case is, right? But what a lot of people don't know, and if you haven't read that book, is that any domino has the kinetic power to push down another domino that is 1.5 times the size of that domino, if that makes any sense. So if you have, an 8-foot span of space, you can knock down a tiny, tiny, tiny little domino with like some tweezers, and within 8 feet, it will be knocking over, like an 18-foot domino, basically, is how that works, just because of that kinetic energy that's built up, right?
So you're saying it's like an exponential increase to your productivity?
Yes. Well, it's this idea that you are this kind of ball of kinetic energy, and it's not just an idea. It's like this is real. You can pull it up on YouTube, pull up the exponential domino, whatever. Just Google it or whatever. But it's this idea that, like you're saying, you could stack all of these 52 ideas in a row, these 52 dominoes in a row. But if you fail to knock over the first one, it's over. Right? Like you already didn't do what was going to help you get and knock over the 52nd domino because you didn't knock over the first one. And so this is something when I coach people, I talk to them about this, is that you can have this really great lofty goal, which we're going to be talking about today. And we even mentioned it right before we got on doing our little pre-show. You were saying that a certain goal isn't technically a goal because if you do all the other things, it'll take care of itself. That's exactly what happens. If your big lofty goal is to make $10 million, great. Have that be that 18-foot domino, X number of steps down the road or whatever it is. But if you were personally choosing not to, say, wake up an hour earlier to get a little bit more, XYZ done or whatever the case is, that tiny little domino of waking up an hour earlier, the notion that you're going to be able to get to this huge, large domino of making $10 million, not going to happen, right? But it's this continuous setting up of dominoes in this order, setting up these goals, setting up these tasks, setting up this list of content, whatever the case is, but you've got to knock over at least the first one. And that's where people fall. That's where people fail. And on top of that, they're not very good at setting up goals anyway. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But I love that concept. I love that idea of the taking of action is what precipitates this idea of getting where you want to go and taking down bigger and bigger goals.
I love it. I have to agree with you on that one.
And I cannot recommend the book enough. That's like one principle in the book. It's
this
phenomenal.
is our second plug for The One Thing by Gary Keller on behalf of Chase Thompson. So we're not getting a kickback, just in case anybody's curious.
No, we don't even have like an Amazon affiliate link. You're totally good. Just go buy it and get it done. It's a phenomenal book, and it'll kick you right in the, to get some stuff done. It's very good.
But future disclosure, going forward, any book recommendations will go through our Amazon affiliate link on the website. We will happily make 13 cents for every book somebody buys.
Hey, got to get them tiny dominoes lined up. So let's dive in. So I know you've got some written down. I've got some stuff written down. Is there anything else you wanted to cover? It's a brand new year. How was your new year?
New Year was good, man. I've breached the 30s, and I've learned that for myself, starting the year without a hangover is much more enjoyable. So I rang in the new year sober, which I've got no complaints about.
Like sober, or just like straight sober?
Well, I guess sober.
Like you went to dinner, maybe had a glass of something, but that's all right.
I had a couple beers at home and then opened a bottle of champagne at 10 minutes to midnight. Problem being, actually, this is irrelevant to this, so I'm sorry, everybody. But when I went to go buy the champagne, I went to the liquor store, and the only stuff they had cold was like $3 bottles of Cook's something or like $40 bottles of some other stuff. And I was like, I'll get the bottle in the middle, just grab it. It was like $15, whatever, nothing fancy. I'm going to drink it at midnight and go to bed. Didn't look at the bottle, I buy it, and then I look at it, and it's Pinot Grigio champagne.
I don't think I've ever heard of that.
Well, I don't think I'll ever buy it again. So that's all the more that there really is to it. The marketing machine behind Pinot Grigio hasn't reached you because it probably never should have.
I know what Pinot Grigio wine is, and I actually like many different Pinot Grigio wines, but Pinot Grigio champagne, I don't really know about.
I will second you on that. I enjoy Pinot Grigio white wines, no problem. However, the white wine Pinot Grigio champagne that I somehow ended up purchasing missed the mark, but it's okay. I still rang in the new year. I had a glass of it. It was good, but it's kind of funny because I woke up on the 1st, and it's just that reinforcement of 2014 was such a good year. I'm happy with what I'm doing. I woke up, I worked all day and didn't even consider it work. I was hanging out, got a ton of stuff done. I got a new driver's license because now that I'm on the East Coast and I'm back in the States for a couple months, I'm now a true resident of the state of Florida. So I got a new ID and ready to get the year started.
Not trying to flag you or anything, but what were you doing before? Were you just getting rides or just kind of rocking it illegal?
No, I had my California ID.
Oh, okay. Wow, that's not nearly as interesting a story. I was hoping there was some sort of illicit activity happening.
Jason Bourne clandestine. I'm on an Uzbekistani driver's license.
That's not nearly as exciting a story as I would have wanted for the podcast. But we'll make it happen anyway. It's all good. So do you want to get us started? Let's dive into some goals. We already kind of talked a little bit about goals last time. But give me your not just a goal, but let's start with some personal goals. But give me your opinion on that, right? Because we're specifically not saying resolutions. Neither one of us said resolutions, even in our pre-show stuff. And I think obviously that's for a reason. But give me your take. Goals.
Yeah.
What do you like to see in them? What do you like to do? Like, how does that work for you?
It goes back to what I always refer to as like SMART goals that everybody talks about, where they're specific, they're measurable, they're attainable. You can make them realistic and they're time bound. It sounds hokey. It's something that I would like to say everybody's heard throughout high school or college. And I think the problem is a lot of people maybe heard it and dismissed it, or heard it and didn't believe it, so they didn't do it. And as the new year approached in this last week, I started asking more people about, did you guys write any goals down? Oh, no, I'm just fine. Or, yeah, what are your big goals for this year? One person had 2 goals. And I was just like, that's cool if that's what's going to make you happy. I personally wish I could go through life and just not maybe have as high aspirations for myself. It might result with a little less stress. But the goals thing versus a resolution, I think it's kind of like if you look at gym memberships, like LA Fitness is probably just signing people up left and right, as they always say, for the first 2 weeks. And no one will be in the gym come February 15th. Except
that's why they get you on that year-long contract, because they know you're there for like 6 weeks and then you're out.
And you're not going to show up. So the resolutions thing, I never really have done one. And I think the times that I have, it's like probably because I woke up so hungover on New Year's. I was like, abstain from alcohol for 1 month. That's my resolution. And then as soon as February 1st hit, I was like, hey, Captain Morgan, let's go hang out for a little bit. I sound like an alcoholic. That's not really good.
That's not, no, but it's okay. We understand. So for you, it really is about getting in there, doing the SMART goals as they are. And I agree with you. I think that's the best way to do it. And that second, the measurable part of it for me is what's really important. It goes back to what gets measured grows. And if you're not measuring them, or that you've set up goals that are not measurable, I think that they're so out in the ether that they're just so, you just can't grasp it. So there's no way to attain. There's no way to make that work for you. You have to make sure that whatever goals you're setting up, it's as simple as you don't want to lose weight. You want to lose 20 pounds, right? Like that is just a tiny shift, and now you know what you're doing. Because technically speaking, I want to lose weight. I lost a pound. I'm done. Goal attained. Move on to the next one, right? Like, make it measurable.
Well, there's so many schools of thought too, because there's also how do you word what you want to achieve? And, hopefully everybody's doing things for growth. If it's weight loss, I understand that, and that's a need, and I think it's
right. Fat loss would be a better way to say it.
But it's a growth in your health. So if you're doing that, I want you to put that under not weight loss, but I want to put that under positive growth. And instead of saying I need to lose XYZ, say, if somebody weighs 200 pounds and they want to lose 20 pounds, say, hey, in May of 2015, I weigh 180 pounds. They got to say it in the affirmative, like they believe it, and they just state the fact as opposed to I want to lose something, because I think a lot of people associate loss, even though it's weight loss, with something that's negative.
Right. So that's why I was saying just a second ago, like fat loss, right? Like I want to lose 20 pounds of fat because my cardiologist says, or whatever the case is, or my blood pressure, or whatever the case is. But yeah, bringing it in and saying, I want to lose 20 pounds of fat because my blood pressure is at XYZ point. So now you have 2 points of measurement for said goal. Your blood pressure needs to go to a certain level, and, obviously measuring fat needs to go to a certain level, or whatever the case is. But that to me is or if it's like you're saying, if you want to put it in the affirmative and you're currently not running or walking or going to the gym or whatever the case is, I want to be at X number of miles run in the year, or whatever the case is. Again, something that's a little bit more measurable and specific.
Yeah, no, I'm on board. I love it. So, and I think it comes down to, for me, why goals I've found are so important is if I don't write them down, I kind of just let that time period, if I'm absent from my goals, I just let it happen. And it's, I think it happens to a lot of people. It's fine. You lose track, but or I should say I personally, I don't get focused, and then I just let life happen. I let somebody else dictate what my schedule becomes, and I just feel obligated to attend this event or that event. And I think that happens to a lot of people, where for me, one of my big goals obviously surrounds travel. And, I've got I obviously my goal is to spend 3 months of the year outside of the country. And part of that is to spend a month in 3 different countries. But if I don't schedule it now or start looking at what countries I want to go to, and I wait till May and finally address it, well, by May, I've already got obligations for June and July. So now maybe it's August. And then, there's something I had in August that I'd already planned back in February. And I think it distracts you from actually accomplishing the things you want to. And then you just say, oh, well, next year. 2016 will be the year I travel.
Yeah, and the other way that I like to look at it is, because you're talking about May and what have you, the way that I like to also look at it is this idea that, splitting the year up, right? Where am I going to be? How many people are still going to remember what their goals are today in 182 days? Half a year, right? July, I think, 1st or 2nd this year is 182 days in. So reassessing your goals that you might set, taking a day. We talked about this earlier during the pre-show. You were talking about having to go take a day to really sit down, get down to business. It is important to do, and thinking about when will you reassess them? How often do you reassess yours?
You know what? How often do we reassess? I'm always looking at them. I keep 2 whiteboards and a cork board in my office. Since I've been traveling, I don't have an office. So on my phone, I have pictures of my goals, and then I carry a printed out document of my goals. So I'm at least looking at them weekly while I'm traveling. When I've got a home base with my office set up, every other day. I mean, every time I walk out of my office, they're there. But reassess, I think I probably, with intention, reassess quarterly.
Okay, yeah, that's great. That's good. I think that's more than most people. So for me, I don't know how helpful this will be for everybody else. I actually have a little kind of like a PDF-ish, it's like a document. You know what I mean? I know people write it down. You could write it down as well. And I could email this out if anybody wants it. I can just put it up. I'll put it up on the site in the show notes.
Let's put it in the show notes.
And you can just go download this kind of PDF for kind of like an accountability standpoint. But I guess, and I'll give you some time to think about it if you need it, but what would to kind of get this kicked off, what would your motto for 2015 be? If you, on the spot, we have not talked about this at all, so if you don't have something, definitely, take some time to think about it, but what would your motto be for 2015?
Rolling out of 2014 and kind of what I said about the first of the year, I got up and went to work. My motto, I think, for 2015 is work that doesn't feel like work.
Wow. Look at you. It's almost like you did homework you didn't know you had to do. That's fantastic.
Well, I've been thinking about it for a little while. I told you the end of the year is everybody's reflecting, and I'm just trying to figure out, what did I do right? What do I need to do right again next year? As you said the other day, what was it? The keep.
Oh, start, stops, and keeps. Sure.
Start, stops, and keeps. So that was a big part of my analysis of last year, and then that's what helped me kind of churn some of the goals up for next year. But yeah, I think as we told, you and I talked, and I said, I think 2015 is going to be the year as an adult for me that I've worked the hardest. I've done the most work, but it's not really feeling like work. It's very enjoyable. I can stop when I want to. So that's also the best part of it, but it's to keep continuing with the momentum that I've got.
Awesome. My motto is like a 1-word thing, and it's just hustle. And I've actually got a video that I'll link up to in the show notes as well. But I think when a lot of people say that they're hustling or that they're on that grind or whatever they put in hashtag, whatever they do on their Instagram or Twitter, I don't really think that they understand what that means. And if they are really, truly about that hustle, about that grind, I'll link up a video. But for me, my motto, for the year is just hustle. And again, some private conversations you and I have, that is what I'm all about currently. And for the next 365, just the hustle, or 64, I guess.
I haven't seen this video, so now I'm anxious to see this video.
Oh, it's legit. It's from one of my favorite entrepreneurs. His name is Gary Vaynerchuk, and it's phenomenal.
Oh, that's the wine guy.
Yes, exactly.
Wine Library.
It's Wine Library, but he also has Vayner Media. It's a phenomenal video. You got to check it out. My motto 2015 is just one word. It's hustle, and it's going to be. And like you said, we've had the private conversations. This will be the hardest I've ever worked ever, and I'm totally okay with that, and I'm totally pumped and very excited for it. So it should be Should be really, really good. All right, next up, what is your most important relationship goal for 2015?
Oh, relationship goal. So I think I've got two, if I can mix them up. So I got personal goals first. I figure if I'm not happy, I'm not going to be happy for anybody else. So that's what I worked on primarily. So my second set of goals and kind of my second big value thing is my family. So one of the opportunities that I think is going to be really important, my brother does a lot of fix and flips on the East Coast of Florida. So I want to work on a project with him. He is more of we are definitely brothers, but we are more of very, very good friends than a weird brother relationship. And just, I love spending time with him. He's a great guy, but I want to work on a project with him so him and I can hang out since I've been gone for the last 3 months, really.
So a relationship goal for you would be kind of tightening it up with your brother.
Hanging out with my brother.
Good.
And I've got another big one. Mom and dad are always important, but my grandfather lives up in Ohio, and I've got 2 properties up there in the latter part of the year that are going to need renovations. And I'm going to go up there and live with Gramps up in Ohio, or maybe next to Gramps while I get these 2 houses renovated, but be able to spend some time with my family that's up in Ohio that I haven't actually gotten to spend a 2-month chunk of time with them ever in my life. So I think that will be a good time to just kind of hang out and get some work done at the same time.
Oh, man, I can dig that. And for my most important, or as I feel as it is now, obviously we reassess, but my most important, relationship goal for 2015 is implementing what my wife, and she doesn't listen to the show, so I can say this, not like I'm just, trying to score brownie points or anything, but my most important kind of relationship goal for 2015 is going to be implementing date nights for us. She that's a really important thing, and in this past year has just been kind of so tumultuous and so it sounds strange, but I really need to kind of get in and work on that. By the way, for those that didn't know when they started this episode, we're going to dive in. We're diving into this episode now. But yeah, for my wife and I to really kind of strengthen our relationship and do some things. That for me is a really big goal, only because I've put it on the back burner for 3 years. She's been wanting to implement that. So I think that is a really, really important goal for me. It doesn't have to be a super fancy thing, but a date night for her and I every week, I think is really, really important.
I love that. Do you know who you should talk to? Is Jay Tenenbaum.
Oh, our boy Jay. What is he? Is this something he's the master of?
Well, Jay. I love Jay, but I think he's got 5 or 6 kids. I think he's got 5 kids. I mean,
think it's 6. I think it's 6.
Listen, he's got 6. He's got 5. Listen, he's got a good handful of children, and he's got a beautiful wife, but he does date night with her every week.
I do. I'm going to send him an email after this show.
I'm pretty sure, Jay says it with a smile every time, but the flame is still burning.
I like it. I'm going to have to get after it. I think that's awesome.
Guy. So okay, we got a little family goal. What about work?
So career, as it were, work, right? So for you, you're up. What you got?
Well, problem, I got 3 segments. The biggest thing I have for us, we have to stay consistent with the publishing of your podcast every week. I'm not too worried about that. What else do I have? Make sure we get 1 case study out every month, and make sure we get an informational guide for our listeners out every month. But the goal on here is, one of the things that we talked about often with your marketing, everything else, is that it's hard for people to find deals, and good deals, ones that they would want to put their own money into if they're joint venturing. So what I would like us to do is by April, be able to maybe present a couple deals within the podcast, put them up on the website, and see if we can get some joint venture partnerships out of this and get some people maybe that are struggling to get their first note deal. They want to find out more about how we work our note deals, and we can put some deals together for people. So that's what I'd like to do by April, at least start getting those out to our listeners.
That would have been tremendous for me getting started. And I mean that in a real way, because I think it goes back to that domino set that we had up. A lot of people will say they can't find the deals, and they use that as a kind of a fear, checkbox. I'm just going to say this thing because then it doesn't require me to take action. Oh, I can't find the deals. And everybody can relate to it, so it sounds believable enough. So for me, obviously that sounds awesome just because look, here, there's one right there. So now, what's your excuse now, basically, right? So I think that's fantastic.
I love it. So what about you? We got a couple others because we got our little project. So I want to hear your thoughts for Note MBA and then for your personal business.
Yeah, so for Note MBA, I think, again, it just comes down to what you said. Just being consistent with the publishing, consistent with the interviews, consistent with the content that we bring you guys, I think would be my number one thing. I'm a huge podcast listener in general, so I know the bar is exceptionally high or exceptionally low, and I don't want to – I have no desire to fall somewhere in the middle, and so I want to continue to keep delivering extremely high-quality content for people, like really answering real questions and all of that kind of stuff. And then for my personal business, it's a big goal that I have for me based off of what I did for 2014. But I would love to be able to pull down a 60. 60 is the number I have for deals done by the December of 2015.
I love it. So I have a deals number, and then I started thinking about my reflection on 2014 and my deals number. I think it's great for you. I do. Is that having that goal, whether it's I look at my portfolio, whether it's a $10,000 investment or it's $100,000 in one asset, getting those numbers turned up and having that volume in your funnel, I think is huge.
Oh yeah, and I think that we were discussing goals with some people at the mastermind. And someone had asked, I want to put down, whatever the number was, I don't remember, but they just said, but what if it was a $5,000 asset or whatever? And I'm like, well, then it was a $5,000 asset. Like, if you don't want it, let me know and I'll go pick it up. All right. Like, if all, I'm about doing the business, right? So I agree. But also, obviously, if someone I want to get to, over $3 million in UPB or whatever the case is, that's obviously also another phenomenal goal. In attaining that goal, you're going to get a ton of deals. Just which way do you want to measure it? I think
chicken and the egg.
Exactly.
They both are going to relate it with each other 100%.
And what about you? What else you got?
Well, so the big one, what I changed for next gen for my personal real estate investment company is to raise $1 million of JV capital. It's a big number. I look at what I did last year, but I'm pretty confident we're doing the right things with this, but with what we're going to be doing for my marketing, the travel that I've got coming up in the next 3 months alone, that getting $1 million of joint venture capital throughout the year will be realistic.
Good. Awesome. I can dig that. That's fantastic. And then kind of slowly moving on, because I know we have some other bigger kind of career goals, so some projects we'll slowly kind of talk about later, because it doesn't really make a lot of sense to talk about them now. What about you for kind of personal health lifestyle goals? Now, your lifestyle is obviously a goal in and of itself for some people in terms of kind of geographical displacement, but do you have any like important health personal goals?
So I have one, and it's kind of maybe unique to different people. It's mental health. It's under spiritual. So I've got, maybe this sounds kind of funny, but when people talk about their goals, so like, as I said earlier, my goals are laid out personal, which if I'm not happy, it doesn't matter. So I need to focus on me first. So I have my personal goals. I have my family goals.
You focus on you first. Time out. I know where you're at, but focus on you first, I think, is really, really important. I think a lot of people forget when they're on a plane and somebody, and they're doing that pre-flight kind of thing or whatever, and they talk about the air mask. Put yours on first before you put on anybody else's. That, I don't think a lot of people take that small bit of advice as far as they should take it in life. And you're saying it, and it's, I think to a lot of people, when they hear you say that, they might feel that is a slightly selfish thing to say. But truly, if you do not put your mask on first, you're not going to be in a place to help anybody else. Because, by the way, now you're out. You're out of the game. You know what I mean? You're out of the game.
But here's the great part, and I kind of say it with a smile. If somebody wants to call it selfish, I agree with them. And then I ask them what's wrong with that. Because if I'm not happy, what good am I going to do for you? Like, you really want to spend time with the grumpy guy?
Definitely not. I've actually spent time with a grumpy you, and it is not. It's not fun. It's not fun.
I was jet lagged. We'll go with jet lag leading into.
How different is grumpy and jet lag for you, though?
Well, I think it just allowed me to be slightly more irritable.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's what it was. Okay.
I'm usually pretty lighthearted with most things.
Definitely. That's what I'm saying. Like, just a smidge of grumpy in your recipe, I think it's not a good place to be, because people expect a very certain type of Rob. So that's just me.
Yeah, no, I agree. So and the way those are laid out, I've got those things first. I think I take care of myself, take care of my family. I've got some other relationships that I highlight in there for myself, and then I go into work. What am I going to do to keep myself busy with Next Gen Coastal, with Note MBA, with a couple other projects that I've got in development right now, and then spiritual is my kind of next thing, which for me, I think leads into your health thing. And my goal for this year is I've never actually had a mentor to teach me how to meditate. And I think I'm a pretty level-headed guy, but I've been reading about it and I don't know enough about it. So I figure, heck, why not learn about it? It can't hurt me. I haven't seen anything negative about it anywhere. So I figure I'm going to find somebody to teach me how to meditate and just relax and try to give myself maybe just 5 or 10 minutes in the morning. You know, I'm really good with reading in the morning. Like I'll open up a book and read, but just take 5 to 10 minutes, calm, silence.
Speaking of calm, because you know I love technology, if I can make 2 recommendations, if you find a physical person, awesome. But 2 recommendations, because I know you rock the iPhone. There are 2 apps that are phenomenal for what you're talking about. Number 1 is an app called Calm, 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 phenomenal app. It's like a guided meditation bit. My personal favorite, though, is an app called Headspace. I believe it's one word, HEAD space, right? Headspace, exactly that sounds. And I use Headspace, or have used. I don't use it anymore because I don't need it, because it did it did its job. It's fantastic. Not to say if you continue using it, you're in a bad place or whatever, but those are 2 recommendations I would make until you find a personal space. And anyone listening, Calm and Headspace, phenomenal apps for getting into that. Just being able to, the guided meditation, if it's something you've been thinking about, meditation in general, is just fantastic. Super, awesome, super dude. Cool. Super cool.
I will be checking those out when we get off this call.
And apparently I'll be sending an email about date nights. So for me, personal health goals, things like that, I've actually been, I've had a few of my kind of coaching clients ask me for it, and I've just been kind of dragging my heels on it. I think I might try to get it done this weekend, and then I'll have it in the show notes for this show. No promises. It might be the next week because it's kind of a bigger project, but I kind of have my daily practice you and I have discussed and talked about, and a lot of people that I do kind of coaching with and things like that want to know what that daily practice looks like. I write it out every morning, but I'm thinking about putting it kind of like in a little book that you can just kind of buy. Like, you know, they have those services where they're kind of like print to, they're kind of immediately print, like you order and then they print them up for you and kind of mail them out. There won't be any like upcharge or anything like that. I'll just find a service to be able to do it. But continuing to do my daily practice, I think, is very, very important for me. It's done wonderful things for me. And I do, and we were talking to weight loss, and I know it's a resolution time, and it's such a terrible time, but I really, really need to get back on the worrying about myself from a health standpoint. Thanks to my wife's pregnancy, thanks to some just up and down times of 2014, I have seriously thrown on some LBs that need to get bounced off. I have a very specific goal and time frame and how I plan on kind of getting there. But for me, it's going to be it's 25 pounds and some other, kind of general health goals. But yeah, it's for me, health is like really, really important all the time. Everyone always, kind of comes to me with their health questions because they know I'm all in it. But yeah, it's not been good.
You lose 25 pounds, you're going to end up putting a 3rd baby in the oven by the end of the year.
That's no joke. This beard I got rocking is really causing some issues.
I think that's she's got the estrogen firing off.
It's true. It's true. She would be very happy with that, by the way. She might now have to listen to the episode because she said that. I'm on that 2 baby train, and she apparently wants me to jump onto the 3 baby train. We will see what happens with that. So last 2 questions I have for you, then we'll kill up this podcast.
Yeah.
And like I said, everybody, I put this into a PDF. Everybody go in, take some time, answer these questions, email them back to us. We would love to kind of take a look at these, take them, laminate them if you can, post them up where you work. These are really, really important things to look at as often as possible. Last 2 things. Number 1, what is like one really kind of fun thing that you want to do for yourself or your family in 2015?
Oh, well, I got
Do you have one? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I definitely do. For family, it's kind of a unique one, and I think I need to change it up a little bit. So one of the biggest parts of it is it's the last part of my my goals is the financial. And as you know, you and I were talking about it, and maybe as you said, it relates to the dominoes. But I feel if I do all the other things for myself this year, the financial just kind of gets in line. But as you know, for 2016, I have this goal to buy a fairly large boat for myself so I can go sailing for 3 months in 2016.
We'll have to pre-record a couple of shows, I think.
We will. Well, I should have some access. But so one of my goals is to save at least $25,000 towards the down payment for the boat. And the reason that plays into it is because I want to make sure that by the end of this year, one of the fun things for me, I want to be certified so that I can sail a 40-foot boat by myself.
Wow, that's super cool, man. That's pretty badass. That's cool.
That's the big one for me for this year. That's fun. And why I say it kind of relates to family too is because my goal with buying the boat in 2016, which is kind of a even further out goal, but is to have this out in the Caribbean, sailing around for a few months, and it should have 3 or 4 staterooms and be able to have people fly out and join me and sail around for a couple days or a week and let family and friends come join me. And I think that if I put in the work now, I'm doing it so that they can have fun in 2016 with me.
I like it. That's fantastic. For me, and I know that we're both in this space, this whole year has been kind of a choose yourself year for me, in that, left the corporate world, yada, yada, yada. And, for anybody out there that's thinking about maybe getting into real estate investing and to leave, definitely, try to get your ducks in a row. Don't just bounce when you're not ready or anything like that, but it is possible. So for me, one of the fun things I want to do this year is my wife has a pretty decent sized portion of her family lives up in Illinois, Southern Illinois, and she always wants to go up there and visit, always wants to go stay, but we're never able to stay for that long and all that kind of stuff. So I would love to be able to go up there and really put in some time, kind of like you were talking about with your family in Ohio, really put in some time with some family that we have not been able to spend a ton of time with. They've had some new babies. They've, cousins, just all kinds of fun. It's always had up there, but it's always a super short period of time. So I would love to be able to go up there and spend an extended period of time, a month and a half, 2 months, or whatever the case is. And because of how our businesses are now, and kind of one of the things that we'll be focusing on with this show is that location independent aspect of it. I love it. I'll be able to, check out properties while I'm there if I need to, but it won't all just be fun. But I would love to be able to just go and pick up my business and operate it from somewhere else for that time period and take my family. And my wife would just, love that, having the new baby and everything like that would be tons of support and everything else. So
we're going to hit 2 things on that goal to help tighten it up. So specific aspect, 1 or 2 months. You said one, a month and a half or 2 months.
So it'll probably be 2 months. I would like it to be 2 months.
2 months.
Yeah. Is the specific one. It'll just be, tackling down the exact 2 months, but yeah, it'll be 2 months. I don't know, it's not as specific as May and June, or whatever, but it'll definitely be 2 months, I think.
So maybe September and October.
It'll have to be, right? Because you don't want it too into the holidays and stuff, because then it's you really have to,
Oh, and it's cold. You also have to take winter clothes.
Yeah, I am from South Texas, so you're right about that. When I saw snow for the first time in my entire life when I was 28 years old when we were up there. That's a pretty sad story.
I'm always paranoid about cold weather. Unless I'm going to go skiing or snowboarding, I don't want to be cold.
Okay, let's end the show here. And I agree with you. Yeah. Let's end the show here. What is, if you have one on your list, one thing you're going to do to give back to the community in 2015? Do you have a big goal or just a goal at all for kind of a give back kind of aspect?
So yes and no. It's kind of a unique way to put it.
To say the community, as in any community, is that what you mean?
Yeah, well, really the big thing is that I had within side of my business plan was to be able to forgive $250,000 of debt. And it sounds kind of like a weird thing, but we've talked about the business, and I've got some people that we've been able to do a deed in lieu, get them out of $50,000 of debt with the stroke of a pen and a notary signature, and they're free and clear. Let some stress go. I've had some other people that they don't want to work as well, or you get trouble making contact with them, and you basically have to go chase down every dollar they owe you. But a big thing that I'd like to be able to do is keep some people in their homes and be able to forgive $250,000 worth of debt. I think, to me, that's a lot of money. I think it's something that if I can do throughout next year, I know I kept at least a couple families in a house that they weren't going to be able to keep in. And I think through doing that, it's, keeping a neighborhood nicer. I think with our ability to do that in this business, it goes to a lot of different levels. You keep a family in the house they're in. You keep a house up to date in a neighborhood, so it's not boarded up with plywood on the windows. But it wasn't necessarily a give back, but it's part of the goal for the business.
No, I agree. And prior to even talking about this, that was actually the exact number I had in terms of kind of that, not debt forgiveness, but you know what I mean? Kind of that write-off just to kind of like let somebody go. Just, take off the burden. Like we've discussed slightly before, or I think it was actually first show, talking about my mom, how she was kind of in a weird spot, divorced my dad, wasn't able to make payments, then what, and it was kind of in a weird spot from a foreclosure standpoint. She actually got the foreclosure documentation from, I want to say Wells. That just that pressure, that weight, that that struggle. You know what I mean? That was a part of kind of my business plan as well. It was exactly the same. It was $250,000 was the number that I reached, and then obviously the show. I would love to just use it as a platform to continue to give back, continue to help people new and old, kind of with whether it's strategies, jumping in the business, whatever way we can kind of help with that. And then this sounds like a strange one, but my wife is a huge kind of philanthropic person in general. So it's almost like let her be able to do the things she wants to do. And I know that's not specific because she's extremely specific, but to the point of where I'm like, hey, babe, where's that blue shirt I love? And she's like, oh, I donated it because you didn't wear it for the past 2 weeks or whatever. Like she just gives everything. She gives all the thing as much as she can. And so I would love to be able to not be as much of just a general burden. And I know that's general. It isn't smart per se, but she is just such that person. I would love just to be able to have the opportunity to not roll my eyes at another giving opportunity or whatever the case is. So
I love it, man.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, for me, I think it's interesting. So this show is going to come out on the 14th. I think it's a good time to reflect. I think if people haven't already done it, hopefully since we're coming in the middle of January, it's like, oh, I didn't do it the first 2 weeks. Maybe I should do it now.
Again, I'll put up the PDF and it'll be there. Download it. Write your goals out if that's the type of person you are. Type them up if that's the type of person you are. But more than anything, print them up. Put them somewhere. Send them to us. I'll hold you accountable. Geez, just send them to me. Chase@notemba.com. I'll get it done and I'll ride you to make sure you get your goals done. But yeah, I can't speak to the power of it enough. Well, so anyway, guys, yeah.
I hope everybody listening sees, from our perspective, what we get out of setting goals and why it pertains to our note business. And when we come back next week, we will have some more updates from our actual businesses.
Your regularly scheduled note investing show, for sure. We appreciate you guys so much. And as always, head over to iTunes. Be sure to subscribe to the show to keep up to date. And check out notemba.com. We've got all the show notes up there, all the links. We'll have the link to the one thing. We'll have the link to the PDF. We'll have a link, hopefully, to my daily practice kind of book that you can kind of get printed out. This is something that has truly changed my life. I might even do a little video on that. It'll be our first Note MBA video. I'm just putting all kinds of homework on my plate. This will be good. Alrighty, we appreciate you guys, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks.
Have a good one. Take it easy.